well, welcome to membership. I have made a Google Drive with last year's notes in it, with some updates, so you can look at those at your leisure, and also a document for this year's meeting. So in the chat it says today's meeting document, sign up here. I can share that with you so I can show you what I'm talking about. Here it is. So I've kind of split up the activities of the membership committee. So if you're interested in like managing any of these in particular, or you want to help out with any of these, there's quite a lot of stuff to do really. So you know, feel free to do that. If I know there's not that many membership committee people here. But also, if you know of anybody who's kind of interested in getting more involved with SPNHC committees, feel free to send them my way, and I can, you know, train them to do stuff, introduce them to very gently to different aspects of membership committee. So let's see, I'll stop sharing that for a minute. So that's there if you want to sign up for that. There were some, I don't know, some like developments from last year. This time last year, hi Anne. This time last year we were talking about diversity, equity and inclusion, and thinking about what we would be doing with that. And now there is actually an idea committee. So there's a whole committee that deals with that. And I think we probably all went to that meeting, or most of us went to that meeting anyway. So there's that group to work with. I've been dealing almost solely with membership, individual membership assistance. So helping people when they can't navigate the system for renewing, helping people who don't want to pay by PayPal, need another payment method. And thank you so much, Teresa, for helping with that too. Teresa's been great at supporting membership and getting lots of problems sorted out for us, and we have to liaise closely about who sent checks for membership and stuff like that. Oh, hi Amanda. And so I've been doing a lot of answering inquiries like that, helping people on the MemberPress database. I can see when people have visited the website and may have got to the PayPal page, but then either their payment didn't go through or they stopped at that point. That shows up as a pending payment. So I've been able to contact people and say, you know, let me know if you need any help. Sometimes they don't get back to me, and sometimes they do. So we just help somebody from Turkey sign up as a regular member. So that's our only member from Turkey, but that's great. We've got somebody from Turkey now. So that's been most of the stuff that I've been doing, is the nuts and bolts of membership, new members, renewing, sending out messages, sending out reminders, that type of thing. I haven't sent out any booth materials or advertising, obviously, because of the pandemic. There were opportunities to do virtual booths, but I really didn't have time to design a virtual booth, you know, that type of stuff. But we should keep an eye out coming up in the future if there are any more opportunities like that. I think there might be something for GSA, Botany 2021, or next year, certainly. And we should also visit, look at the sort of the logistics of sending the actual booth out and manning the actual booth. Is it worth sort of doing the conference materials instead of actually sending the booth and having people stand there during a conference, you know, taking up the time they would want to be listening to talks and stuff like that, actually standing there? Is it better for us to advertise in the associated conference materials, that type of stuff? So we can think about that. What else have I been doing? I've been working with the conference committee for this conference, and then also helping to secure membership and registration for people who were doing the virtual tours, which are coming up. So membership budget paid for their registration to the conference. And then we paid the membership for the travel grant recipients as well. And I've had one other person who contacted me and said they were in pretty dire straits. They were a member of the committee. So I gave them a complimentary membership for a year as well. So that's the sort of stuff that has been going on in the last year. Any questions about any of that or comments about anything there? So, Teresa, did you want to say anything? That's all right. Okay, so if I go back to that.
Sorry, I'm driving, so no, I don't think I have anything to add in respect for that, but I do want to maybe talk a little bit about how we can help our international membership be able to sign up a little easier, since most of them don't want to use PayPal or can't use PayPal. And right now what I'm doing is giving them bank transfer information, and I'm not sure that's the best way to do it.
Right. Does anybody else have any experience of signing up for things? Yes, Anne, do you have any?
I'm an American, but I hate PayPal, and I refuse to use it. And so those organizations that want to use it just have to accept my check, and then they never cash it. So I don't know where, but they've never dropped me from the membership rolls either. But also, what was just mentioned was very expensive. The transfers are very expensive to do. At least when we've tried to transfer money from the US to somewhere else, we've had to pay a lot of, I thought, unnecessary money. So I don't know if that's a good way to go.
So last year, when we had a conversation like this last year, Dirk Nyman was very helpful in suggesting that we might have, for people who have to pay a fee to transfer money, that it might be beneficial to have a longer term membership to make it worthwhile. So you could sign up for a 5-year membership and you'd only have to pay that bank fee once. I don't know if that's, if that's something we want to think about.
Is that a logistical nightmare though, in keeping track of, have your 5 years passed or not?
No, because PayPal's really, the member press is really good because it will give, I can create a subscription that's a 5-year subscription. So every year I just go in and change the renewal date for that. It changes it in December.
Would be a big hunk of cash for someone to come up with all in one go.
Yes, that's the other thing. It depends if they think it's worth it or not, to do that. Yeah, so I don't know, does anybody know any alternatives?
Alternatives to PayPal?
Yeah, international alternatives.
Oh, Venmo. My kids use it. I have no idea what it is.
I actually know what that is. I just used it for something for work, and that's a great idea. Venmo, we can come up with an account right through there, and you can just transfer the money over, and there are no fees as far as I can tell. So that might be a really good idea.
I mean, I don't know how that is on an international, but
so I could do some checking into that one.
For a couple of the other committees, we've been talking about doing a membership survey, and this might be something good to put in a membership survey about whether people would be interested in doing the longer term, the multi-year memberships. And then if there's any feedback about PayPal and how people would prefer to pay. I know PayPal, we, at least at my institution, we pay for our society memberships, personally, our institution doesn't pay for them. So PayPal is fine. But the Entomological Collections Network meeting, the registration through that is through PayPal. And we have a hard time using our university credit cards on PayPal. It doesn't they don't want to let us like add those to a PayPal account. So it's always like a pain, like we have to pay for it personally. Like we can't put, meeting registration on a PayPal. So if somebody was trying to pay their spinach membership, with their, like, have their institution pay for it. I don't know if other institutions have that problem. So it might be worth adding that or something about membership like that to the membership survey.
Yeah, I've been, as we were chatting, I tried to do a quick Google search on what is available, and there are tons of different money exchanging apps. Some are safer than others. And I don't necessarily know all of the, international considerations for them. Like I feel like people use like Cash App if they're trying to like transfer things maybe internationally, but I just don't, it's not particularly secure. So it maybe has gotten better throughout the years, but I remember like when these things were coming out, like a lot of these systems are pretty easy to like, take everyone's money. And so I think, yeah, I think asking people, especially asking like our international people, like is really going to be the best way of actually trying to figure out what is the best, what is useful for them. Because I feel like what's most useful for them is probably not going to have any implications for the people who live in the United States. So I think it's pretty easy for us to change over if we just know which one is best.
What's the fee for PayPal if it's to a nonprofit organization?
It depends on the amount that comes in, how much the fee is. I don't have, because I'm in the car right now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if we have a lot of transactions, like for example, December, we had a lot of people at the end of the year doing all of their membership renewals, and our PayPal fee for the month was about $47. So it's not extensive, but it can be depending on how many transactions we end up doing and how much they all are. So
yeah, I think it's less than something like less than $2 a transaction that we have to pay. That comes out of it, I think.
Yeah, we're the ones who pay that.
Yeah.
So December was about the cost of a regular membership.
Yeah, if I'm remembering this correctly, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So, and I don't know, Teresa, do you know, do we get a lot of checks from other countries? People don't tend to send like, check.
I haven't gotten
other countries.
No, I haven't gotten a lot of checks. I get more checks from U.S. members than I have this year from international members. I had a lot of people asking for the transfer information so they could transfer from their bank into ours. But even that, I can count on two hands how many people actually ask for that. But if we're going to open up to having members from other locations, in particular like South America, we're definitely going to have to look into having something that's secure and easy for them to use.
Teresa, do you know whether there are fees for international people to transfer money to a U.S. bank account?
Well, from the person who in Turkey who did the transfer, his fee looked like it was $20. So for a $45 membership with a $20 fee from the bank, that's $65 right there out of his pocket. So
is that why people always say to use the sending money to friends option instead of I'm paying for a thing option?
Yeah, I think so.
Does anyone pay by check anymore? A personal check?
Yeah.
Or
I
museum check, or from your organization?
Yeah, a couple of those have come in, yes.
So that's still acceptable.
Oh yeah. Checks are always.
I'm thinking, because there's only one other country, Canada, And perhaps Mexico, you could say the same thing, that certain areas that there's a lot of border crossing, people come to the US to shop, whatever, that when they come over, that they just get a money order in American currency, since I think that's all we still take, and to send on. I don't know, but it's not going to help somebody in China unless they pay a cousin to do it that lives here.
I wonder if that fee was because of the app that we're using or because of them having to transfer the currency for it, or like, you know what I mean?
That could be the exchange between the
exchange rate.
countries.
That's
Yeah.
the word I was looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Which I don't know a way around that. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know a way around that either. So
yeah, that was the same when I had to send money to Canada, do a bank transfer internationally. There's always a fee for actually doing the bank transfer, and it varies from bank to bank. And then some banks they just can't do it anyway. But you have to give the person all the bank details, the bank number and everything. So that's why it's kind of not quite so.
Yeah, and some of the banks don't accept the number that like Chase uses. I can't remember what it's called, but I had to provide, because he was in Turkey, there's an international code that has to go before the account number for the transfer to go into. So I had to go and find exactly how to create one of those codes specifically for Turkey. So it was a learning experience. Wasn't difficult, but it was still a learning experience.
Right. Well, I think we'll just have to continue looking into ways to do that. See if there's any other ways that we can make it easier for people in different countries to pay.
Yeah, I would love to see that on the survey that we do, because the best people who are going to be able to help us out are the people who are international.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll make sure that question goes on the survey.
Yay.
Okay. So let's see. So we've mentioned the survey. We've been talking about the survey in other meetings as well, and we had talked about this, I think, last year as well, to send a survey to the membership and past members. We don't really know what the questions are yet, and we think probably every committee will have different questions that they want to ask of the survey, the membership. So I don't know if anybody's got any other questions they can think of, things that we want to look at for the survey, or you can be thinking about that. Anybody got any immediate ideas that you want me to jot down for a survey? Well, we will start having regular meetings for membership. So that will give you the opportunity to think about that and come back in maybe a couple of months or something, see if you thought of anything on that side. And also, as the survey gets developed, I think we'll think of more questions as well that we want to share. So let me go back to I'm going back to my document. You can look at the document on the Google Drive if you want. Can you all see the link in the chat to the Google Doc? And, feel free to put your name down under any, oh, thanks, Greg. Put your name down under any things you'd like to deal with in membership. You don't have to take over the whole of membership, but there's all sorts of little bits and pieces that you can do to work for the committee. Right, so on my general list of things, one was increasing diversity of SPNHC membership, and sort of trying to think of ways to connect with potential members in other countries. We've had some calls out to institutions. I sent a call out to everybody who has ever been a SPNHC member or within the last 10 years in every country, inviting them to do a behind the scenes tour for the conference. I don't know if we got some people who had been members in the past or not, but that was one way of sort of encouraging people to sort of come into the at least have something to do with the society. Anybody got any ideas, any other ideas of how we can sort of find out who to connect with in countries that we don't really have represented very well in membership?
I don't know, Ann Pinsel might be better able to, with this, know more about this suggestion, but to work more closely with the ICOMNet HIS group.
Okay. Do you know more about that, Anne?
Or Julian?
I can start with joining ICOMNet HIS myself, finding out a bit more.
That's already come up today, actually, in previous discussions at some point. I've lost track of it a bit now, but yeah, the linking in with because we've linked in with them before, and then memorandums of understanding and stuff like that. That's right.
Yeah.
And it might be a good starting point on a few places, like the international membership. How do they pay? So how does ICOM UK manage things like that? ICOMNet HIS, sorry, not UK. Brain going. Yeah, so it's kind of a good starting block to see what other organisations do, really. But also what came up under that, I think, was the fact that, I think it's with Tadwick and Shelley, she mentioned that Tadwick have regional contacts or regional hubs, and they kind of use them to see how we could support those links in those areas. So, you know, somebody in South America linking with the South Americans. We've had a few South Africans come on board, haven't we, with the tours and stuff. Maybe we can persuade some of those to act as a hub. South Africa, you know. So those are a couple of things that seem to have come up today already. Yeah, so that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea of having sort of representatives, regional representatives. She was talking about having them in the council.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's where that was. Yeah.
I guess you could have it, you know, like a non-voting. I don't know whether you want to give them voting powers or not, council voting powers or not. I mean, the individual committee chairs don't necessarily have voting powers, but we go to the council meeting. So I don't know, but that could be something sort of that would have to be council nominated, maybe. I don't know, or you know, voted on.
I mean, I wonder
a bit like, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I wonder about having like another member at large position that's like not North American based.
Right. The SSAR, one of the herb societies, has a board member that must be from non-North America. And that can be complicated during election years, but you know, there's always somebody sitting at the table who's from somewhere else. So that does help.
The Biodiversity Crisis Response Committee, I can't remember what we're called anymore. That name keeps changing. They brought up, well, we brought up trying to get more like global membership as well, especially from countries that, you know, are biodiversity hotspots and have like critical biodiversity loss right now, and trying to engage with collections folks from those regions. And so that might be another way to reach out. Well, circling back to like sending the booth out and conference advertisements and things like that. It had come up in one of our committee meetings about how to engage with more conservation type conferences that might connect with those types of colleagues outside the US. So, and I think that's on the agenda for the Biodiversity Crisis Response Committee meeting tomorrow.
Well, I might attend that then. That's open? Is that on the list?
Yeah, it's at 9 o'clock your time.
Sounds good.
And then I also think, and I can't remember if this has come up in the IDEA committee or not, or if it's come up on another committee I'm on, for trying to increase diversity in the US, you know, advertising and going to meetings for other, other user groups, like going to SOCNUS or advertising in SOCNUS. I know Paleo Society, I think, has been engaging with them and maybe has a booth. And so, maybe we don't need our own booth. Maybe we can provide some materials. If botany is already going to have a booth, like here's the collection side of things, something like that. Because I don't think we do a very good job of engaging with those communities in the US either.
Yeah, so I think it would be good if we had some of that, like links to those societies on the website, and also the SPNHC had like Museum Hue. You can get an ally membership to Museum Hue, and then there's, I think, Museum Detox in the UK as well. So maybe it'd be good if we went to those societies instead of, trying to bring them in to come to us all the time. If we actually went and supported them, like, obviously. And I don't know, like, how do we pay for that? Is that something membership pays for, becomes an ally member of, various society?
Yeah, I think this was a question from the Biodiversity Crisis Response Committee as well. So that committee isn't a full committee yet, so we don't have a budget. But I think the question from there and the IDEA committee is, for some of these initiatives, does a budget need to be allocated and asked for membership, or does it need to be asked for from those other committees? And I think the chairs were going to talk to you, Tiffany. I think there was an email.
Right, yeah. So our budget is $2,500 a year. And we don't always use that, I mean, the booth goes out maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year. It's like a huge production to send that booth out and get people. I don't mind sending it out. And I organise for it to be shipped back again. But, Ilana will speak to this. Last time we went to GSA, you had to provide flooring as well. Well, we didn't in the end. I sent those gym mats that I paid for myself in the end, because they never got out on the floor, did they, Ilana?
No, nobody said anything to us in the end about that.
That's good. The conferences, some of them are getting more and more expensive for the exhibiting thing, because you have to do it through a company, and you have to pay them to take the booth from the delivery dock to your booth area, and it costs a lot of money to do that. And then you have to pay like $100 to hire a chair for 4 days or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of,
I was just going to say, I smuggled a chair into GSA last time I did it in Denver, because they wanted to charge us for the carpet and the tablecloth. And yeah, I was like frantically trying to track down somebody who could pay for it, because it was all like, we already had the booth, and then you get there and there's all these extra fees that they don't tell you about.
Right. Well, they shouldn't be charging you extra fees when you get there, because I have done all that through ordering that online, so paid for that already in advance. But it is kind of tricky with sending the booth back, and you might have to get in a taxi and take it to a FedEx office or something. It's not, it's kind of cumbersome, and it's like a huge, bulky, heavy thing. So I'm thinking maybe we'll, especially now that, well, I don't, people might be rushing off to attend meetings. I think we're in a sort of dim area where we don't know whether meetings are going to now be in person or still be online, or what's going to happen. So maybe we can explore doing those conference materials, advertising in the abstract volume and stuff. Anne?
Going back just to paying, and we were talking about the multi-year, whether it's 3 or 5 years, and get it all done with, and then you don't have to do that. There's 2 comments. One is that it's a much smaller organization than Native Plant Society here in Nevada. We tried that. We had a 3-year membership. It was a little reduced rate. And I always did it because I didn't like the annual sign up routine. So, so it was not used very well.
Right.
Secondly, if a home institution of a member is paying the dues, I know my situation being a state agency, the year was 1 year. You could only, money is allotted once a year, and you only had to spend it within that year. You couldn't spend for like the next 2 or 3, 5 years. So some people, if in that case, would also not be able to partake. But just those two thoughts. I like the idea, but or we could also encourage everyone to become life members, which is what I did years ago, and so I never have to worry about paying my dues.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, and that's a good point about having only been allowed to spend your money from work for 1 year in that year. It's almost the same with the booth, you know. If I'm doing, in the past, if I was doing sending the booth out the following year, I had to wait to pay until January. I couldn't pay for something for the next year, the year before. With the member press, people can already. Anybody can go in and subscribe for as many years as they like at the current rate. You just keep you just keep logging on and renewing, and you can renew far into the distance if you wish. I don't know that many people know that. You could lock yourself into the $45, you know, a year for that. And I can always add any additional membership, you know, length of membership time. If we were doing it at a discount, we'd have to take that to council, I guess, because that would be a separate membership rate. But it's no problem for me to say, well, you want to pay for the next 3 years, you know, here's a button to click on for that. That's easy enough. So anything else along membership rates? I know we had talked about retired.
One more thing.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, the Society of Herbarium Curators, they have a free membership to individuals in developing countries, which of course is not raising money at all, but it would increase the membership and our service to the greater community out there. And, you know, there are various lists you can get from the UN and so forth, exactly what is a developing country and so on. But you had to be recommended by a member. So you'd have a little of a tie there. It isn't like everyone just can sign up willy-nilly, which is maybe why they did it. I don't know. I don't know if any other organizations have done that, where you have a, that kind of, it's a really good thing to do, except you're a little more broke at the end of it all. This is maybe something where I don't think we use our affiliates, I forgot what the name is, for people that are with other organizations, whether it be the Mammal Society or the entomological groups and so forth, and find out if they're doing anything like that. ASPT, the American Society of Plant Taxonomists, they don't have that program, but the curators group does.
So what is the cost to the society now that our publications are distributed electronically? What is the cost for maintaining a membership if we were to offer free memberships to people in developing countries?
I didn't hear all of you, all you said, Alana, if you're talking to me, but others can answer.
Well, I don't think having complimentary members in other countries is not really going to cost us anything, because, you know, I mean, we haven't got them now. So in the long term, it might encourage people to renew once they've, you know, once they've been a member for a year, or just to test it out and see whether it's worth them getting an institutional membership. So institutional membership isn't that expensive, and you can have as many people as you like, basically, in your institution signed up to institutional membership. So that's, you know, I would think the complimentary membership is a really good way to let people see what spinach is about, and then decide whether they you know, can commit to renewing their membership at the end of the year, or what have you, or if there's something that they would be willing to do in exchange, like the behind the scenes tours, or I don't know, having some sort of running some sort of virtual workshop. You know, I mean, we always talk about how we can help people in other countries with collection care and management standards, but people in other countries have got different ways of doing things that will also benefit us. So it's a two-way thing, you know, and having a tiny budget myself, I would love to hear some other ways to do stuff in collection. So I think there's a lot of, you know, a lot of communication and exchange of ideas would be great. So maybe we could have like free, a complimentary membership, institutional membership with some sort of in-kind communication or collaboration or something like that as well. But can you all have a look and see with the societies, the other societies that you belong to, see what, you know, if there's any special membership rate or complimentary membership that they offer particular groups, and how that works for them?
Tiffany, another thing that came up in the idea committee was the option when you renew your membership to purchase a membership for somebody else who can't afford a membership. And I think Lisa Goldberg brought this up and said that AIC has something or some scheme like this, where when you go to do your membership for the year, you could either, I don't know if it's a whole membership, or you could donate an additional $10 to the membership fund for whatever whatever they put it towards. And so that was an idea that I think a lot of people really liked, but I don't know if that's possible to do.
So
SPNHC could have a new fund for that, you know, a new donation fund for that. But donations from the website, donations are a bit messed up at the moment. I don't know how much we've had in donations this year and last year's compared to other years. I mean, we've had the pandemic, and we've also got a new system. So you will notice when you go to renew that there's no button to click on to say, yeah, I'll donate at the same time, or I'm adding this extra on as a donation, which you could in the past. So you basically have to do two different things. So it's not like that you're prompted to make a donation when you renew now. And I would really like to get that back again, because I think that was a really simple way of asking people to donate for various funds. We don't have a fund apart from the travel grant. I don't think there is a fund specifically for creating complimentary memberships or gift memberships. It just in general, you can buy a membership for somebody else, you can do that. And there's also a process where you can get a gift membership as well. So it's not just that you get the person to log in and then you put your credit card information in. There is a mechanism that isn't set up yet that I've looked into where you can you can send a gift membership to somebody else. So you don't have to get their login details.
So if you don't know a specific individual, but you would like to underwrite another membership, is there a list of people waiting to be sponsored?
No, and I don't think we'd keep a list of people waiting to be sponsored. I think that should be something like either membership committee or the idea committee. People could apply to that and they would keep that list. I don't think it's sort of fair to hang people out like puppies, you know, say sponsor this.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I didn't know a particular individual, but just wanted to provide for an additional membership, what the mechanism would be.
Yes, I don't know what that mechanism is yet for that, for doing it that way. And so if it's going to be, because in that case, you know, it could be anybody. I mean, right now there are a lot of people who have been furloughed or lost their jobs and stuff like that. So, you know, not necessarily just looking at underrepresented countries, but also people who like a hardship fund as well. So there's that too. So maybe that's something we could work on, you know, this coming year, to work out what mechanism we could have for sponsoring people and who would be eligible and how we would make that available to people. I think that's something we'll have to think about.
One other thing in terms of membership that has come up in the IDEA committee is, well, and it came up in the Biodiversity Crisis Response Committee too, is the issue of having to be a member to serve on a committee.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're trying to, you know, reach out to colleagues like the Biodiversity Crisis Response Committee, in country, you know, in other countries where, like, you know, like they might have this $20 fee to like sign up for membership, which might be cost prohibitive. Could people get some kind of like gift membership in exchange for serving on a committee for a year and taking a leadership role in the committee? Or could, you know, like this year, a lot of memberships were covered for the tours, for doing the virtual collection tours, or could we do a membership in exchange for writing something for the newsletter? So some kind of like membership in exchange for like service to the society kind of thing, to try and broaden membership as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think, you know, you could, you'd have to really make sure that you had good criteria in place so that you didn't get people that probably didn't really need free membership applying or being eligible for that. I think that was kind of like one of the things that we've had to think about in the past is like, if you put out a call to everybody that says, if you're going to join this committee, you can get free membership, then you're going to get a lot of people like, yeah, I'd do that. I don't need free membership, but sure, I'll take it. You know, so I think having a good criteria of who we're trying to target and who would be eligible for that would be good. Amanda?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the criteria, but also it's really talking to the committee members too, to really kind of like foster that relationship of actually giving them things to do. And like, I'm going to get on a little soapbox for a minute, and hopefully now that we have this virtual space, hopefully things are getting better. But, you know, I've been in Spinach for, you know, 8 years, and I've gone to the meetings, I sign up for committees, I say, I'm ready to help, and I never hear a single thing from anybody for the entire year. And I go to the next meeting and they're like, we need all kinds of help. Who wants to sign up and help us? I sign up and never hear anything ever again. So again, if we're making that a criteria of like, oh, you need to be like an active, you know, involved in the committee, then that means like the committee chairs and the committee actually has to be active throughout the year and like can show, so the person can show that I am an active, productive member of this committee.
Yeah, guilty, Amanda. That's what, you know, that's what's happened here. Like usually we sort of sit in a room somewhere on our membership meeting, and I go, well, we need all this. Can somebody design this this advertising thing, and what we're going to do about this? And we talk about it, and then we go away, and I'll send a message out that says, I need somebody to send the booth to this place or that place. And that's where because that's a particular thing that really needs somebody doing, and there's a deadline and we have to be there and we've paid for it, that's easy to get you know, on the radar of things that need to be done. But hopefully those days are over. And with Zoom, and you know, we really need to meet regularly. So, and Greg has offered to be co-chair, so he can help, you know, we can nudge each other to get information out. And I have put, you know, if you haven't already seen it, let's see if I have that link still on here. There is a Google Doc but you can sign up for various tasks that I've put on the document that membership is responsible for. So, and that would be excellent, because, you know, I end up trying to do these things myself and they either don't get done or it takes up a lot of time. So, yeah.
Amanda, I think that's a really good point. And I think there are some committees that are definitely like more active throughout the year than others too. So like, for example, like volunteering to do social media posts, like an Instagram just got started for Spinach, which I don't know if everybody knows. So like, you know, posting, saying that you're going to do X number of posts for the Spinach Instagram, for example, like that's a very quantifiable thing. And we've had a lot of trouble, I think, getting people to do stuff like social media in the past. So, you know, things like that could be really, yeah. I think we could define what those things are if we want to go that route.
Yeah, I love that idea actually, because I know that the social media team is, you know, it's hard and it's like can become a burden for them, but having a good way of kind of spreading around the work and having an added benefit behind it of like, oh, you get membership, like your dues are waived this year because you joined this committee and you are going to post X amount of, I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, a lot of societies like have a paid social media person to do that, and we don't. We don't have any paid staff. So like, I mean, it's not a huge amount of payment in exchange, but yeah.
So I have tasks here on this list for people who are interested in marketing, who can help with design and designing and developing advertising, managing the conference booth, looking into virtual booths and conference advertising, and liaising with the Spinach Web Committee and our corporate members. There's also room for membership management, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done that I have to do with answering membership inquiries, database analysis. You know, there's some really, like, you can do that any time of the year. It's quite interesting seeing where everybody's from. Thanks, Amanda. There's also now membership diversity, so liaising with the IDEA committee, but also international relations and thinking of ways to attract and support underrepresented members. And then also something that Anne had worked on for a long time, and it's time for somebody else to take over, is doing the newsletter, Spinach Connection newsletter member profile. And Anne has done a really good job of creating a template of questions to ask the member of choice, and then getting that written up into the newsletter. And that's a really nice way of sort of bringing in people from areas that we're not used to seeing or meeting people from, so and showcasing what's going on in other countries. Also, we've been thinking about a memorial page as well on the website, so it'd be good to have somebody who can work on that and, you know, just be there to gather up any memorial type things and to have those written up and ready for the website as well, I think. So feel free to sign up for any of those things. Let's see, was there anything else on my list? So we were talking in earlier meetings about the strategic plan.
Tiffany, Anne has her hand up.
Oh, sorry, I'm not looking at the screen now. No. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering, do we have membership brochures anymore?
Do we have membership what?
Membership brochures. Hi, this is Spinach, and this is what we do, and it has a little membership form to fill out. And we used to have them. When I was, I wasn't here when they were the head of the committee, but we had very simple, threefold ones. And I made the point several times to get them inserted in other people's meetings. When you get your baggie of goodies, to have the Spinach flyer in there. And I think that was a really in your face kind of way, but very nice, you know, have a nice brochure.
Yeah, and we did have that.
And it was
did
no big deal. Like if there was a meeting coming up in Ohio, you know, I just sent somebody I knew in Hawaii, Ohio, a bunch of folders, and then they made sure that they got into the bags.
Yeah, and I still have the template for that one. Obviously, just need to update it with contacts and.
The one we last had that I knew about was a very expensive physical one, and it looked like an overall overproduced product that was very commercial. You know, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I was not impressed. I probably would not want to join by someone who wanted to waste their money like that.
Well,
Wow.
and then we had the bookmarks. So currently, I've still got lots of those bookmarks. They were good, but on none of the things said what SPNHC stood for.
Bookmarks would do the same thing as a flyer that I'm suggesting. Get it out to people who are going out to their entomology meetings or their paleo meetings or whatever. And
yeah, so you know, I need somebody to design that flyer, and then I can, or if somebody else wants to take over the advertising part, you just pay the fee for those to be put as inserts into the bag of goodies, or inserted into the conference book.
So Tiffany, I'd be happy to help with that. And I have a friend here that's a graphic designer that does a lot of museum exhibit design too. And I'll see if she might be interested in helping with any of this.
Great. Okay. Did you put your name on the document?
I did. And I put my name under idea first since I'm already on that committee,
Yeah.
but I moved it to marketing, and I'll see if somebody else from there's a ton of people on the idea committee, to see if somebody else wants to help with liaising there. I don't need to do everything.
Yeah, because I'm not personally on the idea committee, but I'm, you know, I will go to any meetings. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Well, anything else you can think of that you want us to think about? We need to think about. I'm going to the conference committee next, and we're going to be thinking about new ways to deal with conferences. We've had I remember when I was when I was in Chicago, there was quite a lively membership meeting. People had lots to say about, you know, forthcoming meetings, and you know, I think just the models for how that's run and how much they cost, and that type of thing. So I will report back to you if you don't actually go to that meeting.
I actually plan on going to that as well, but that's kind of a good segue for something that I have been thinking about. And I'm sure we've talked about it before, but it kind of has to do with kind of like, so not talking about people from like, you know, underdeveloped countries. And so we've done like a lot of work of like, how can we facilitate that work? And so separate from that, I always wonder, and I don't know, I have no metrics on this yet, but I just joined the membership management, so maybe I can look at the metrics, but I feel like we often have a lot of, you know, like people who drop membership if they're not going to a conference type of thing, and which for us specifically, it's really doesn't particularly matter, but I feel like it definitely hinders the people from like the local organizing committees when like people who are putting up a lot of money and hoping to gain money back, and you know, someone can just be like, oh well, I don't want to pay this extra $150 to you, I'll pay $40 to SPNHC to like save on that cost. And I didn't know if anyone had any thoughts on like, is there any way of like being able to either like track more like long-term memberships, or making it more of a like, you need to be like a standing like member for X amount of time, or like, or like in a row, I guess, like consecutive member or something like that, in order to like really get your like discount. So it's not always taking money away from the you know, local organizing committee.
Right. So I think AIC actually on their registration, if I was looking at it correctly, you had to have been a member for like the previous year or something, or it was like you couldn't just sign up then and get the discount. You had to have joined up at some other time. I don't know. I'll look back at that because I was like, oh, we don't do that. Yeah, so that's a good idea.
For the Chicago meeting, I just assumed everyone would be a member, and so that was our price. And then if anyone was not a member and signed up, that was just extra gravy on the cake.
Yeah, and in the past,
Mix a metaphor.
Thank you. I tried hard on that.
I don't want any of your cake, Paul. But I have in the past, I've checked if people are members when they've signed up with the SPNHC membership for conferences. So I did that for New Zealand. And I did do that for the Field Museum, just to check back and see. But, you know, I don't know that anything, like I didn't contact the people and say, you fibber, cough up the extra money or anything like that. But, you know, there was that. The other thing is that with conferences, there's always the institutional membership as well. So, you know, maybe there should be an institutional membership rate rather than because the individual person doesn't pay for that rate. It's just $75 for an institution to sign up. And some institutions have quite a lot of people who are covered in that membership, and then they get the discount rate too. So whether you want that to happen or not, that would be something for that conference committee to think about. And also, should we limit the number of people in an institution under a institutional rate? Should it be limited to 5? Currently you can have up to 50 people. So if you've got a huge institution, then, you know, it's a good deal.
You know, if you're trying to reach out to more diverse places in the world, and money is always going to be kind of the underlying limitation for that. Would you want to put a restriction on that?
Well, that'll be something for us to think about then. We'll have to carry on thinking about those. But we've run out of time now. So what do you want to meet again in like 2 months or something? Shall I send you instructions for things to do? Excellent.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, I need action items. So.
Okay, great. We'll have membership tea and talk about things to do. Great. Thanks, everybody.